check it out.
What's up, everybody? Super WX fan for another weekly update. So, what's new this week? Well, last week, I told you I was going to get my car serviced, and I did get it serviced. I thought they were going to replace the driver's side taillight, and instead, apparently Subaru now wants to just reseal the taillight to try and fix the condensation issue that way instead of just replacing the whole taillight, which is reasonable. That's fine. So they sealed it up. Hopefully there won't be any more condensation issues. I haven't seen any yet, but we'll keep our fingers crossed, and I'll let you guys know if any issues develop from this further. Otherwise, yeah, got fresh oil, got the tires rotated, everything's going well. This car runs really well. I now have 16,000 miles on it, and I've just passed a year of ownership with this car. I picked this car up, I think, around June 6th or June 7th of last year, and that's when I made my vlog debut. So it's crazy to think that it's been a whole year since I started talking with you guys here on camera, and I appreciate all the support over the past year, and 16,000 miles now. This car is really nicely broken in. It feels like, a comfortable pair of shoes that you wear a lot. It's just, you hop in it, I've just, everything about it now. Everything's just, I learned the car, so much better than I did a year ago. Everything about this now, it's so enjoyable to drive. Once you really get settled into one of these, it just gets better and better, I think. And, I was reflecting on how I was considering getting rid of this exhaust system, but now I'm just like, I love it. I really do. Whenever you're going through tunnels with the windows down and stuff, it just sounds ridiculous. It's amazing. So I'm pretty sure I'm just going to keep this exhaust system. It's not that bad. As long as I stay away from the long road trips, I think I'll be fine. Speaking of long road trips, though, funny enough, I've been thinking about doing some BRZ adventures where, on top of the weekly updates, maybe every once in a while, maybe once a month or something, take a little trip in the BRZ and, not only to comment on the BRZ's trip worthiness, but also, to point out cool sights that I've seen, or, things we can just do these adventures together, and I'll just vlog through the whole adventure, and I think it'd be pretty cool. They don't have to be long trips. I don't plan on driving across the country or anything, but even just short stuff, or even, most of you guys know I live in Pittsburgh, so if there's any Pittsburgh sites you're curious to see more of, I can take you up and, give you a cool look at the city, or, different things like that. Anything you want to see, just let me know, and we can maybe do some little adventures with this car. I think it'd be kind of cool. So, as always, these videos are only brought about by your suggestions. So you let me know what you want to see, and we'll try and make it happen. I appreciate all the car review suggestions you guys have continued to give me. I'm keeping a whole long list on my phone, a tally of what cars people want to see me review and how many people want to see me review them. So I know all the cars you guys want to see, and so it's a matter of just finding those cars, finding someone that's willing to let me have one for a while to drive, for a few hours, and doing a review of it, and then of course having the time to do the review and things like that. So yeah, we'll knock them out one by one. We'll just eventually get through all of them, and it'll be fun. I love reviewing these cars, so keep the suggestions coming. You can never have too many options for cars you guys want to see. So yeah, keep the suggestions coming. I appreciate all the support as always. So yeah, that's it for all the BRZ updates. So I'll send it over to me in the news section and give you guys some of the news in this week's automotive industry. Right, so for this week in automotive news, the first thing I want to talk about is the fresh new 2014 Toyota Corolla was debuted. And it actually looks way better than you would think a Corolla would look. It is really a really nice sharp front end. It kind of reminds me of the Dodge Dart a little bit. It still is an economy car, and it looks, like an economy car. I mean, it's nothing too swoopy. It still has, really big interior space and things like that. This one's, more improved over the previous version. Still has the basic 4-cylinder motors, but they're offering a 6-speed manual in this car, which is pretty cool. And Jalopnik even brought up the point that this car has the option of a manual transmission, but the new Porsche 911 GT3 does not have that option. So which one is more of a purist car? I mean, I adore dual clutch, but it's just kind of a funny point to bring out. So yeah, they're bringing it in a manual though, and It's supposed to get over 40 miles to the gallon for this Corolla, and you know, should be a pretty reliable car. If history is any indicator, Toyota Corollas are bulletproof, so you want reliable transportation, that's your best bet. And it looks really nice now too, so it's not as boring as it used to be. The next thing I want to talk about for this week in the news is the Pagani Zonda Revolucion. I hope I'm saying that right. It's the new version of the Zonda, and I thought that they did a final version of the Zonda and that was it, but apparently they're doing this one too. It now has 800 horsepower. I'm not complaining. I still adore the Zonda. The Wyra is amazing, but I will never get annoyed at too many Zonda iterations. So it's going to be 800 horsepower, you know, extremely limited production. I'm not even sure if this one's going to be street legal or not. It has all the racy bits on it, so I'm not really sure. I hope it's street legal though, because this thing is going to be sweet. I really wish Zondas were legal in the US here, because seeing one of these on the streets would be sick. All you guys in London and places like that are lucky. You're probably going to be seeing these, and it's going to be a sight to behold for sure. And another thing is Maserati is going to have a Gran Turismo successor that they want to compete with the Porsche 911, which means they're going to shorten the wheelbase, make it smaller, and the base engine is going to be their new turbocharged V6 motor with the V8 as a possible option. So they're basically going to make a Jaguar F-Type rival, you know, something that's along those lines, because we all know Maserati's not going to be as hardcore as the 911, so they're going to fail at making a 911 competitor. That's just the way it is. So their primary competition here is going to be the Jaguar F-Type, which means this Maserati would probably be the cheapest Maserati they've ever made, because if they want to be competitive, it's going to have to start somewhere in the $60,000 range for sure. And so, yeah, the only thing I can say, if Maserati or anyone in Maserati happens to be watching this video for whatever reason, is please make it lightweight and offer a manual transmission. I know that all the luxury brands don't want to do these manual transmissions anymore, but that was one of the biggest upsets with the F-Type whenever I drove it, is the automatic is a standard torque converter 8-speed automatic transmission. It doesn't shift fast no matter how much the marketing guys say it does. It is not a fast transmission. So I know Maseratis always have automatic transmissions, so if you're going to try and make this an actual 911 fighter, don't put any kind of automatic transmission in it, or at least just make it an option and give either a manual or pull like a proper dual clutch out of a 458 or something, since it's all, you know, Ferrari owns Maserati. Grab a Ferrari transmission and toss that in here, and then it'd be a decent sports car. But you know, if they're just going to slap a standard automatic Maserati transmission in it, it's going to be a dog. It doesn't matter how awesome it looks or how awesome it drives, the automatic transmission is going to be the downfall. So don't screw it up, Maserati. I'm really excited for it because I adore the designs, I adore the sound of those V8s, so please don't screw this car up. And the last thing I want to talk about is Chrysler's whole debacle where they're defying the NHTSA, which is, you know, America's National Highway Transportation, you know, Safety Association. They're saying that Chrysler should recall 2.7 million Jeep Grand Cherokees and Liberty models because of potential fire hazard. Whenever the cars get rear-ended, apparently a very, very, very small percentage of them burst into flames whenever they're rear-ended, and it's a gas tank problem. And everyone's saying how crazy Chrysler is for defying, you know, the government and wanting to do this recall, and that it's a bad PR move and stuff, which is all true. I mean, the whole thing with the accidental acceleration or the unintended acceleration that Toyota has had, I think that was partially BS as well, but Toyota just sucked it up and said, you know what, we don't want the bad PR, let's just do it, pay it off, you know, whatever, and just get this in our past. I think Chrysler should probably just do the same thing, even if it is BS, or it's stupid to recall 2.7 million cars over the 2 or 3 that might have burst into flames. But this might not be as terrifying for Chrysler as a lot of people are saying it is, because if some people will remember in automotive history, the 60s Ford Mustangs, you know, I think it was a whole thing between the 65 and like 68 model year, is that those cars, when they were rear-ended, there were some reports that they burst into flames, and there was tons and tons of court cases where this was coming up fairly frequently, to the point that there was actually some aftermarket pieces made to kind of cover the gas tank in a way that if the car was rear-ended, it would protect the occupants, because apparently flaming gasoline would come into the cockpit and catch people on fire, and it was horrific. But look how many Mustangs were still sold. And here we are 50 years later, and the Mustang is still a huge American icon. So Ford was able to get over it and kind of, you know, push it away and kind of just get rid of it. And they never did a formal recall on the old Mustangs. So this might go the same way with Chrysler. They might, they just announced a recall on 630,000 other Jeeps for something else related to it. So maybe they're just going to try and get everyone to forget about this and, create distractions or whatever for the few cars that might actually have a legitimate problem, just like the Mustangs. It's still controversial whether those 60s Mustangs actually had that problem or if it was just a few freak incidents and it was no fault of the cars. So that'll be interesting to see how this plays out for Chrysler. I mean, Chrysler is doing well now. They've had a really big increase since their, rough times a few years ago. But Chrysler still isn't in a stable enough position to be getting any kind of bad PR at all. I mean, Chryslers have been known to not be extremely reliable cars in the past anyway. So this does not help their case. Hopefully, Americans' memories are short and people will continue to buy Chryslers after this news article, is over and done with. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So that's it for all the news for this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me in the car. Hope you guys with a nice little acceleration here to end the video. It's going to be short this time, sorry. There you go, and yeah, so there you go, guys. As always, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.